Welcome to episode 2 of my as yet untitled web series. This is featuring Lucy, my dog, and a review of The Bells of St. John, Doctor Who's brand new episode that aired last night on BBC America. If you missed it, you need to watch it, and if you don't watch it, you suck. It's a fact. I'm a proper Doctor Who fan unless I drink tea while I'm discussing it. So, allons-y. Bells of St. John opens up with a man's plea. Beware of the Wi-Fi. Don't click this thingy that you see when you click on your Wi-Fi and you get all the list of things and you steal your neighbor's connection. Don't do that. Because this one that's all these creepy letters, it's not good. Because once you click it, they know who you are. And once they know who you are, they could kill you. So there's something in the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is evil. Cue opening sequence, Tardis flipping around, the time vortex, Jenna Louise Coleman, Matt Smith, Cumbria in 1207. There's a bunch of monks, and he's knocking on the door. The bells of St. John are ringing. The bells of St. John are ringing. Go get him. We have to tell him. Of course, who's him? He's the Doctor. Doctor Who. You know, it's implied that he's been staying with these monks for quite some time in order to reflect and try and glean an idea of who this mysterious twice-dead woman is. And then they see a drawing of her with her catchphrase, "Run, you clever boy, and remember." The bells of St. John ringing actually means that the TARDIS phone is ringing. The actual phone, open up the little police box door, didn't know there was a phone there. He didn't either, because he said that's not supposed to happen. And he picked up the phone, and guess who it was? Clara Oswald. So, we see Clara Oswald again. This girl seems to be a lot of places. Now, what do we see about Clara Oswald that's a little bit weird? Okay, it's in modern time. Okay, she's a babysitter. The last time we saw her in The Snowman, she was a governess. Kind of the same thing. Babysitter's like a modern-day governess. One of the interesting things that I'm pretty sure every person noticed when they watched it last night, was that the book that one of the kids she's babysitting is reading is called Summer Falls by Amelia Williams. Amelia Williams! We know that that is Amy Pond. So the scene that you first see Clara in, she's kind of doing, typical babysitter / mom thing. She's bustling around and everyone's doing this and that and saying this and saying that, and then the girl goes, I think I'm going to go over to Nina's house. Nina! Apparently, she wants to go figure it out, too. Nina has been mentioned a few times. I'm pretty sure in Asylum of the Daleks, she says that she kissed a girl named Nina. Clearly, from the get-go, it's very obvious that Clara's really bad at the computer. She asks the girl that she babysits for if she can use the internet when she's done, and the girl's like, "Do you realize everyone can use the internet? It's kind of not like taking turns. It's not like a restroom or a loo or whatever you say in Britain." And you can tell that she's bad at it. When you first meet her, she's on the phone with the helpline, and you find out that the helpline is actually the Bells of St. John that's ringing, which is actually the TARDIS phone. And when the Doctor picks it up, she says that the woman at the shop gave me your number and said you were the best in the universe. Okay, we have to wonder if this was either a benevolent or a malevolent decision by this shop woman. Here's one of the more interesting things that happens. While she's on the phone with the Doctor, who is now reluctantly giving her help with her Wi-Fi, she says to the girl that's leaving to go to Nina's house, "What's the Wi-Fi password?" And she goes, RYCBAR123. Okay, so she goes, "How am I supposed to remember that?" And the girl just walks out. She's on the phone with the Doctor, and she decides to make an anagram. As she's typing the letters on the phone, she goes, "Run, you clever boy, and remember." And then the Doctor's like, "Holy F-balls, this is Clara Oswald." So the next thing, like the Doctor, he shows up at her front door. Before we even get to that, we have to mention that Clara, being the computer illiterate idiot that she apparently is in this episode, clicks the random Wi-Fi that she's not supposed to click, according to the warning in the beginning of the episode, and now she's in the system. And we figure out that the system is actually this office with this woman walking around with an iPad who's pretty pissed about pretty much everything. Basically, you find out that these people get sucked up by the Wi-Fi and their bodies are left dead. All you see are pictures of their faces going, "I don't know where I am, I don't know where I am." That is the wall of this office with this crazy bitch lady. And she's got this iPad, and she's controlling people's emotions with this iPad. You know, paranoia up, intellect up, you know, obedience up, like shit like that. And you can tell that there's some sort of weird plug-in thing. As soon as Clara clicks it, Miss Kislet's, one of her better workers, says, Clara Oswald, we've got her. She's really bright, but she has no computer skills. So she goes, oh, splice her computer skills and upload her. So you're understanding that there's some sort of like we're downloading people, and as we're downloading people, we're giving them upgrades, and their subconscious is just kind of existing somewhere. And she keeps talking about a client. There is somebody who is contracting Miss Kislet to capture these subconsciouses, and we don't really know why yet. Tea break. Basically, because Clara clicks the Wi-Fi, Clara is now on their little map, and they want her because she's extremely bright. And as the doctor shows up to her house, he opens up the door. She opens up the door, and he's like, Clara Oswald, Clara Oswin Oswald. And she goes, not Oswin, no, just Clara Oswald. So Oswin is not her middle name. So I'm confused as to whether or not there are Oswin Oswalds, there are Clara Oswin Oswalds, and there are Clara Oswalds running around. I don't think there's any Oswin Claras or Clara Oswins, but the grave at the end of the snowman said Clara Oswin Oswald. In Asylum of the Daleks, her name was Oswin Oswald. She clearly doesn't have an Oswin in this episode, so I wonder if that has any significance. No, she's not going to remember the doctor, and they have this cool, adorable back and forth, which resulted in my favorite part of the episode, when he asks her, not once, not twice, but 3 times to say Doctor Who, and then he does this adorable little Matt Smith dance that only Matt Smith could do. Basically, she shuts the door in his face. She thinks he's a psychopath. And he goes back into the TARDIS, and he puts on what is now the Doctor's new outfit. So bow ties are still cool, but now are long overcoats. And I don't mean David Tennant long overcoats, trailing down to the ground like a duster. More like a to-the-knee-ish, little bit higher, awesome, cool-colored overcoat that matches his bow tie. Very cool. Very cool. I was a big fan of it. He changes, and when he comes back, oh no! Clara has been uploaded, and she has been uploaded in one of the freakiest things I've ever seen in my life by a spoonhead, which is a projection of a person that's actually a moving Wi-Fi base, and she projected the image of the little girl from the cover of the Summer Falls by Amelia Williams, and that girl came down the steps and started really repeating everything she said, and then spun her head around like The Exorcist, and the back end of her head was like a big old satellite dish. Started sucking out Clara's subconscious and brain. And the doctor busts in and sonics the waypoint. He runs around the house and he's like, oh my god, it's a moving Wi-Fi point, it's hoovering up data, it's hoovering up people, and he realizes what's going on and he reverses it because he's a master hacker, because he's the doctor. And Clara ends up getting sucked back in, spit back out by the giant hoover, spoonhead thing, and now she's back. Obviously, this raises some giant flags over at Miss Kislet's corporation, and they start realizing, well, something's going on, we need to figure that shit out. The doctor also sends a message to Miss Kislet, the girl is under my protection, the doctor. And as soon as she sees that, she calls up her client and tells him, the man you warned me about, he's here. So we know the client knows him, because she then passes out, kind of getting your life sucked out of you is a little bit tiring. So he puts her up in the bed and he does some adorable taking care of her things, and he opens up a book called 101 Places to See. And it's clearly her book. It says Clara Oswald in it. She's written all of her birthdays in it, although I've noticed that she skipped a few years. Like, I don't think 18 was there, and 23 definitely wasn't there. And she would cross out, she was 9, she got it when she was 9, she crossed it out, she wrote 10, she crossed it out, she wrote 11, and so on and so forth. But there were at least 2 years in there that were missing, including the one before she's 24, including 23. It went 22, 24. Thought that was interesting. Also, the first page of the book had a big giant leaf in it, which the doctor had to lick, and he seemed very interested by. He does the adorable doctor thing where he's guarding her, she sticks her head out the window and asks him, what are you doing? And he's sitting with his TARDIS, tinkering with the moving Wi-Fi waypoint, and explains to her everything that happened, and as he's explaining it to her, she makes a Twitter joke. And because she makes a Twitter joke, that kind of piques something in his head, he clicks something off, and he goes, oh wait, you knew nothing about computers, why are you making a Twitter joke? And she realizes, well, when Miss Kislet said and spliced her computer program, they were actually in the process of updating her memory, her brain RAM, and made her able to work computers. So now she's a computer genius, coincidentally enough. And the way that they are going to get rid of Clara, because as the doctor said, you came back with information they didn't want you to have, and I don't think they're going to let you keep it. They hack all of the lights in London, turn them all off, and leave all of the lights on her block well lit, and then decide to turn everyone off on a plane and send the plane to it. The doctor then uses the TARDIS to jump onto the plane. There's a very funny series of events where Clara seems to be holding a teacup throughout this entire plane crashing and TARDIS flying, and she manages to not spill her tea. So props to that, because I spill my tea just trying to drink it. It like falls out of my mouth. And the doctor does that whole, once he moves the TARDIS, he has to explain to her in a very condensed version what he is, you know. Jump to the next morning. Which he decides to send them to the next morning because the people who have been looking for her have been looking all night, so they've got to be tired. And then he whips out a Ducati because the doctor is cool enough to have a Ducati. So awesome. This man is the coolest person in the free world. But obviously Miss Kislet, she can hack all the Wi-Fi like ever. So now she knows where he is. She sees them get on the motorcycle, and now they follow the motorcycle all the way to this adorable little coffee shop where Clara and the doctor sit outside and do some more flirting, which is really cute, and I really enjoy it. And then you find out that Clara is able to hack into this company's database. How did I just put that together? I just put that together. She was really good at hacking things in Asylum of the Daleks. She could hack a Dalek. That can't be a coincidence, I'm sorry. Especially because until what happened to her, she wasn't good at hacking. So somebody is making sure she's good at computers. I don't know why. I need more tea to ruminate this. Anyway, they're at this adorable coffee shop. They do more flirting. The doctor goes to get coffee. And then Miss Kislet does one of the cooler scenes, probably in the entire episode, where she is hacking other people and making them speak for her. She's using other people in the cafe as a megaphone. Oh, can we just mention how Matt Smith's reaction to a cake on a cake stand was probably one of the cutest things I've ever seen in my life, because he walks through the coffee shop and sees a cake and goes, "Woo!" and picks it up and twirls it around, and is just like, you are a bunny in a person's body, and I love it. Anyway, so Miss Kislet puts this whole circus act on and shows him how she can clear an entire room of people, and explains to him that, you know, her client doesn't hate humans, he loves humans, and he's a farmer tending to his crops, and nobody loves cattle more than Burger King, you know, he loves his people. And she tells him that, you know, there's no point in trying to save his friend, all stuff that everyone knows is, you know, is going to just egg him on. This is where it gets interesting. Because Clara figures out where they work, and as soon as she figures out where they work, the doctor comes over to her, and he starts repeating everything that she's saying, and lo and behold, Matt Smith is a spoonhead, and he turns his whole head around, and he starts satellite dishing her face off, and he doesn't get to her. The real doctor doesn't get to her in time. She is completely uploaded and integrated into the system. She's back in the I don't know where I am mode, and it's very sad, because you think, oh my god, he just got her back, what in the hell is going on? He gets on his Ducati, and he drives to the Shard. He rides very quickly. The person on the street goes, "Really, a motorcycle? I didn't think that was very you." And he said, "I rode the motorcycle in the Olympics, the anti-grav Olympics." And they're like, "Yeah, well, the building's on lockdown." He's like, "Didn't you hear me say anti-grav?" Boom, pushes a button, and now the motorcycle is flying up the side of the Shard. He breaks into Miss Kislet's office building, and as soon as she opens up the door, there he is, feet on the desk, motorcycle helmet on his head, reveling in how awesome he is, because he is the doctor. He demands, upload her back into her body, and she insists, "I can't, she's integrated with the system now, she is 100% integrated, I would have to upload the whole cloud." It's like, "Well, I'm gonna motivate you," and I'm like, what's he gonna do? He's getting really close to her, poking her in the nose, and lo and behold, the doctor is genius. He actually never left the cafe. He hacked his spoonhead self, made his spoonhead self ride the motorcycle all the way to that office, and now he spins his spoonhead head around and starts satellite dishing Miss Kislet's face. Boom, he uploads her. She starts screaming, "Upload the cloud! Re-download me into my body!" And her henchmen are standing there like, "Well, we can't do that." "Oh, well, you forgot about the iPad, right? With the little obedience meter." Well, Spoonhead Doctor cracks his head on straight, grabs the iPad, and puts the obedience meter all the way up. Boom! They download everybody. Clara's back. Miss Kislet's back. She goes into her office, and she calls up her employer. Guess who the employer is? It's the manager from Spice World. And also the Great Intelligence. So, the Great Intelligence says, "Now, I have grown. I have feasted on many minds, but you must reduce. This must stop now, you know. It's not going to work anymore. He figured us out." So Miss Kislet takes her iPad and restores it to factory settings. And when that happens, you realize that the Great Intelligence did to Miss Kislet what the Great Intelligence did to that little boy in The Snowman. They took him and they got in his brain at a young age and they took over his thoughts. Miss Kislet is now rendered to the emotional level of like a 3-year-old. And you can assume that she was left somewhere by her parents or got lost, and the Great Intelligence sucked her up and started using her brain. And I kind of feel bad for her, but it was hard not to laugh when this bitch who was so crazy for the entire episode is sitting on the floor going, "Is my mommy and daddy coming home?" Here's an interesting thing. Are the Great Intelligence and Clara somewhat related? Why is the Great Intelligence and Clara in 2 episodes in a row? Something's going on there. What's going to go on with the Great Intelligence? Because he didn't say, "Oh, the jig's up, guess I'll just like crawl into a hole and die." He was like, "I've feasted on many minds, I have grown so much," and now you can only wonder what's next. Hints about Clara. Didn't get much. She wears red a lot. She skipped a couple birth dates in her book. I mean, I didn't see why they would intentionally scan down it very slowly. I thought there was a point to that, you know? And she also says to the doctor, he asks her to come with him, and she actually isn't that interested. She's like, "Come back tomorrow, maybe I'll decide." And he asks her why there was a leaf in her 101 Places to See, and she says it wasn't a leaf, it was page 1. I don't know what that means exactly, because he seemed so interested. And I didn't know what exactly that meant. It was like a big maple leaf. Like it was a big, big leaf. Like bigger than my head, it seemed like. Oh! How could I forget this? When she's hacking the computer, she does this hilarious thing where she actually tries to come up with a username. And she's like, "Clara Oswald for the win. Oswin!" And he looks at her like, "What in the hell? What?" So she says Oswin. You wonder if maybe she invents herself as Oswin. She does like a River Song thing where like, yeah, I was Melody Pond, but River Song is way cooler, so I'm going to be River Song. Like, you wonder about stuff like that. I guess we have to wait for next episode to find out what else there is to know about Clara Oswald. I mean, he ends this episode saying, "Time to find out who you are," and I don't think it's going to be time to find out who she is. I think we're going to have like 5 or 6 episodes before we even get close to finding out who she is. So, I mean, that's the way it's going to be, and we love it, so who are we to complain? If you guys have any other ideas, things you want to talk about, put it in the comments. I really am all open for feedback. I think I may do a review of the Walking Dead season finale and the season premiere of Game of Thrones, which are both on tonight. Happy Easter to me. And that's pretty much it. I am going to finish this tea and go probably give my dog a belly rub. It's a little cold now. It's not as good.